Should be good to go, Chairman.
Okay, we may begin.
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the Town of Newington Conservation Commission meeting for February the 15th, 2022. It is 7 o'clock. Ms. Gibbons, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ancona,
Here.
Commissioner Bashand,
Here.
Commissioner Casasanto,
Here.
Commissioner Conway. Here.
We may begin.
Commissioner Paskowitz. Chairman Saydel,
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
Here.
So we have a quorum. I will seat Commissioner Conway for Commissioner Paskowitz at this time. Let's proceed to item 3. Public participation of non-agenda items, each speaker limited to 2 minutes. Mr. Hinckley, is anyone on the line?
Yes. Mr. Zellick, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Jeff, if you're there, you can unmute yourself.
Sorry for the delay. I couldn't find my mute button.
No
Can
problem.
you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit this evening about the Culver Street public hearing. At your December 14th meeting, a member of the public by the name of David Horrigan from 30 Candlewick Drive spoke to you and expressed his concerns regarding the Conservation Commission's mishandling of the public hearing for Culver Street. Mr. Horrigan pointed out that the commission was given explicit instructions from Eric, Attorney Ancona, and Renata no less than 4 times during the discussion, and each time they warned the commission the public hearing was closed and there should be no input from anybody outside the commission during deliberations. And that's a long-standing rule with public hearings. As the commission appears to be leaning towards denying the permit, and despite the clear instructions, the applicant began to testify to the merits of the site plan. Now, that testimony and the exchange with the applicant and the commissioners seems to fill an entire 5 pages of your meeting minutes. Your December 14th meeting continued after Mr. Horrigan's comments, and you did not address Mr. Horrigan's what I read to be very serious concerns. You met again on January 18th, and again, I don't see anything in the record of you addressing the concerns that Mr. Horrigan has risen regarding that public hearing and how it was mishandled. I've been contacted by members of the public regarding the actions of the Conservation Commission for my opinion regarding the record. Now, I read through it and I'm quite disturbed when I reviewed the record and saw what had occurred. The record clearly shows that the commission allowed additional comments, and there were lengthy comments and testimony from the applicant after the public hearing was closed. Once the hearing is closed, the commission is not allowed to have new comments be entered. The commission is to go directly to deliberations and render a decision based on the record that's before it. The applicant should not have injected himself during the deliberations. And to me, that's a fatal mistake on the part of the applicant to interfere with the deliberations like he did. Now, all commissioners bear the responsibility of raising a point of order should they witness a procedural error. The commission was instructed to make a decision based on the record before it and did not request that applicant to clarify any items. After the applicant finished his lengthy and unauthorized testimony, the public was denied its right to a rebuttal as the public hearing was closed during the prior month's meeting. the public hearing is really there to benefit the public. It's not held so the applicant can provide only his testimony. The public was denied a fair hearing, and they were not allowed to speak once the hearing was closed. The applicant, however, was allowed to provide additional lengthy testimony to his advantage. The commission needs to make this right wrong. I mean, you've really damaged the trust of the public. I'm asking the commission to consider postponing the signing of the Culver Street permit until the commission has fully reviewed this matter. The commission should have the power to rescind its decision if it finds the applicant acted improperly or the hearing was not following legal protocols. The public has lost faith and confidence in the commission, and that trust needs to be restored. Any commissioner sitting this evening can introduce a motion to review the actions of the commission and rescind its decision should it find that errors were made during the proceedings. The fault lies mainly with the applicant for speaking after the hearing was closed, but the commission does bear culpability as it did not stop the applicant from his testimony. I'd like to remind the commissioners that you all have taken an oath, and it's a very simple oath. And that oath is to uphold the law to the best of your abilities. If you find the legal format was not followed properly, you need to take action and correct that mistake. Now, you may not be aware, but the public has also appealed directly to the town council regarding this issue. And it's not only the Conservation Commission, but also the Zoning Commission that appear to have a systemic problem with the rules and regulations not being followed. This is a serious stain on your reputation. Now, I'd like to ask the town council liaisons that are present this evening to please take notice of this issue and address it promptly with the town council. The public's already reached out to you, and you should have documentation from the public regarding the inappropriate actions that were taken by both the Wetlands Commission and the Zoning Commission. And I'm asking you to take that back to the town council and start to review that process. So in closing, I'm appealing to the good commissioners sitting this evening to introduce a motion to investigate the events of the November 16th public hearing regarding Culver Street and to restore the public's trust. All right, I thank you, and I hope every one of you will take the appropriate actions. Have a good evening.
Okay,
Next on
thank
the
you, Mr.
line,
Yes, who's next?
next on the line, David, you can unmute yourself.
David Horrigan, 30 Candlewick Drive. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Well, obviously, Mr. Zelik stole all my thunder. I still can't believe what happened at the November meeting and how my December testimony was completely ignored. What the commission allowed was illegal. You had clear instructions 4 times from town staff to not allow any new information. When it became obvious that the vote was going to be 4-3, denying the application, especially with the comments of the commission, and particularly with the serious concerns expressed by the chairman. As he was expressing those concerns, somebody must have sent a 911 to Jason down in Pittsburgh, the developer, because out of nowhere, he appeared online and began to testify. His testimony, if you look at the YouTube, undoubtedly changed your vote. His testimony was illegal, and you need to reverse your vote. We demand that the commission investigate your illegal activity at the November meeting, and when you do, you'll have no choice but to void your vote. We're not giving up on this issue, and actually the public opposition is getting stronger. So please do the right thing, correct your errors sooner rather than later. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hinckley, is there anyone else?
Yes, Igor Patranovic. Go
Please
ahead,
proceed.
Igor, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, Igor
on.
Bochenkov. Thank you so much. Igor Bochenkov, 20 Cobblestone. I completely agree with the remarks made by my neighbors with regards to the proposed Culver Street development. These, shall I say, irregularities are truly astounding at this day and age. David Horrigan spoke at length about these violations at the December 14, 2021 meeting. The fact that these meetings are virtual now have robbed our residents from establishing an effective oversight over the proceedings. Certain developers and their well-paid and well-connected representatives have used their influence to gain outcomes that would not have been possible during live in-person public meetings. I call for this commission to review its prior decision with regards to the proposed Culver Street development and to recall its permit due to numerous violations. Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Hinckley, is there anyone else?
Not at this time.
Okay. We shall proceed with the meeting. With item 4, acceptance of minutes, acceptance of minutes from the Conservation Commission meeting of January the 18th, 2022. Does the commissioners have any additions or corrections at this time? Okay, seeing none. Vice Chairman Wagner. We're about to vote. Have you read the minutes and are comfortable with voting this evening? Have you watched the video and listened to the minutes?
I read the minutes and I'm comfortable with them.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're
So,
welcome.
may I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes from Newington Conservation Commission of January the 18th, 2022?
So moved. This is Commissioner Conway.
Moved by Commissioner Conway. May I have a second?
I second it, Commissioner Wagner.
Second by Commissioner Wagner. Shall we call the roll? Ms. Gibbons?
Commissioner Ancona,
Hi,
hi.
I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Thank you. I wasn't see you there, so we have one abstention.
Commissioner Bashand,
Yes.
Commissioner Casasanta,
Yes.
Commissioner Conway,
Yes.
Chairman Sadil,
Yes,
Commissioner Wagner.
Yes.
5 yes, 1 abstention.
the minutes pass. Moving on to section 5, new business application 2022-02, construction activity at 77 and 93 Payne Road. Applicant SBS Realty LLC, owner McBride Properties Incorporated. Contact Brandon Hanfield, practicing engineer. Is the applicant present, Mr. Hinckley?
I believe he is.
Yes, we are.
So who shall proceed with the presentation?
I will proceed. For the record, my name is Brandon Handfield, professional engineer licensed in the state of Connecticut, representing Yannick River Consultants, LLC. We're here tonight for the applicant, SBS Realty, LLC, and Interpol Bath is also on the meeting. I will share my screen here shortly and give a detailed presentation of both existing and proposed conditions. Anytime you have any questions or comments, feel free to jump in. And is it okay if I share my screen, Eric?
You should be good to go, Brandon.
All right, just want to make sure I can unshare yours.
Yep.
Okay. So again, thank you very much for having us. We're here tonight for a commercial development at 77 and 93 Payne Road. It's located on the south side of Payne Road. So what you see in front of you is the title sheet that was submitted with some color and the 2019 aerial. All the plans you'll have tonight are simply what we submitted with some color added to it for presentation purposes. So Payne Road is north of the site. The site is to the south. Due east would be S.A. Frank Garden Center. Due west would be, I believe, Connecticut Auto. And then due south is the tail end of the Stu Leonard's property. About 900 feet to the east of our property would be the intersection of Payne Road with the Berlin Turnpike. This is the existing condition survey that was performed by Kevin Franklin of Franklin Surveys. I overlaid that survey on top of the 2019 aerial just for some clarity. And I'll just briefly describe the existing conditions we have today. So our site is outlined in orange. So we have 77 and 93 Payne Road. These properties will be combined into one single parcel totaling 2.55 acres. Again, Payne Road would be to the north or up, and Stu Leonard's would be to our south. The zone is the planned development district. Currently, as you can see from this aerial, it is a vacant, undeveloped property. However, there were land activities and land preparation activities that were performed on this site as part of a larger plan back in the early 1990s. There was a petition that was approved, I believe it's 92-12. And those activities involved some clearing, some filling, and some reconstruction of stormwater retention on our property to the south. And the purpose of those, or the full development, was to make this parcel as well as the two parcels to the east more developable. So I can go through some historical mapping if you wish, but in essence, this area to the south was cleared and filled, and the stormwater retention back here was expanded for the purposes of developing this property as well as the S.A. Frank property to the east and the car wash property further to the east. In general,
Mr.
topography.
Hanfield, if
Yes,
I
sir.
may.
Yes.
So regarding the purple lines, all the way on the lower left, that is wetland and cups. Yeah. Is that wetland, or that is getting confused between the wetland and the buffer?
So it's good, very good question. So in magenta here,
Yes.
with the wetland pattern, this is a wetland here based on your town map, your 2017 town map. And this magenta line is also based on your town map, 2017. The 100-foot review area is also in magenta. So this is the 100-foot review area based on the town map, which is the most conservative. We did have a soil scientist visit the site, James Sipperly. And in general, you can see his delineation underneath the town map in teal. It's a little less conservative, so we stuck with the town map, but in general, he did confirm the limits that are shown on your town map, and we didn't see any need to change the map.
One question that I have on that left-hand side, what is feeding that wetland? Obviously, if the ponding on the lower right, there's the pond,
Right.
right, that abuts the Stu Leonard property.
Yeah.
But does that pond flow into that area, that vertical
No.
wetland, or does it move on down further westward towards the LA Fitness? I know there's the big detention pond
Yep.
by Sam's Club and LA Fitness. Is that water from that large pond flow into that vertical area, or how does the water flow work in that area?
I believe based on, and I didn't get all the way in there, it's not easy to access, but I did get down into this area. This channel receives flow from Payne Road and developed portions to the north. So there's a very large conduit system that comes off of Payne Road, flows in an easement, and discharges into this man-made swale. This activity is reflected on the petition 9212 here, and it's basically a hand-laid, very large stone swale that was created. So the bottom is all stone, and it's a 2-to-1 slope up to original grade. This is separate from the pond. So the pond outlet's generally down here to the southwest. So it is separate. This does not flow into the pond. So the stormwater from Payne Road does not go into our retention pond. The areas to the north and the east do.
Okay, but eventually those two link up and go westward off your property. But those from the pond and from that vertical area, they
Yeah.
join up and go west?
Yeah,
Well,
what I can do is this is from the drainage report that I submitted. It kind of gives the picture of what let me go to this is before you developed it. You can see the pond existed and the stream kind of goes, and this, I think this answers your question. You can see
Yeah.
the outlet goes to the southwest This was petition 9212 before the work was done. Again, you can see the stormwater pond and the discharge right here. And again, that flow going down. And as we go, this is post approval. In 1995, they've already started to build the improvements. The pond was expanded. You can see the swale here that takes the stormwater from Payne Road. And you can see the stormwater improvements that were part of the S.A. Franken car wash development here. So those flow into the pond and the pond flows out down through here. I believe at this time it was Caldor's, so well before Stu Leonard's. So this is basically the post conditions map that's filed on the town land records. And it kind of shows the progress of what was done. So in short, this was all filled in to create developable land.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on existing conditions before I jump to the proposed?
I don't
All
see
right.
any hands up at this time.
Great. So what you have in front of you is sheet number 2 of your plan set. I won't spend too much time on this plan. It's kind of zoomed out and gives a high level view, but again, Payne Road's to the north or up on our page. We're proposing a single 11,170 square foot building. That building will include a safe splash swim school in the southern 2/3 of the building. And the northern 1/3 will be a commercial retail space that doesn't currently have a tenant, but it will be able to be fitted out to a future tenant. Access to our site will be right in the center of the site to Payne Road, a 28-foot wide access driveway, serving a single 24-foot wide driveway that parallels our building, wraps around back to the west, and basically allows us to access the rear doors of the commercial space or the back of the house.
Quick question here, Mr. Hanfield.
Yes, sir.
Those pinwheel symbols, those stars, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. What exactly are those?
Here?
No, higher up. Yeah, that. What is that? I didn't find it. I only glanced at the plan, but what does that represent?
Those are going to be street and shade trees, and I'll quickly cover that in the landscaping plan
Okay,
later on.
thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. So what I'll do now is I'll just flip over to sheet number 3. What we did here is just we have a higher scale resolution, so it's a little easier to see. So we rotated the page 90 degrees. So now north is to our left and Payne Road's to our left. Again, the building shown in orange, 11,000 square feet and change, 28-foot access driveway, 24-foot main driveway. 56 parking spaces are required for this square footage. We're providing 64, so we slightly exceed the minimum required. We do have 4 handicapped accessible spaces serving this building based on the quantity of spaces we're proposing. And, excuse me, as we wrap around back, you see our trash enclosure at the end of our driveway. You see a loading area that serves this rear sidewalk that gets to the rear access doors and egress doors to both areas. And then along the front, you see a sidewalk that serves the front doors of both the Safe Splash Swim School and the commercial space. Just to really recap, the regulated areas still shown in magenta. So this is the 100-foot upland review area based on town mapping. And anything basically south and southwest of that line would be included in the regulated activities we're discussing tonight. So you can see there's a very small portion of the building, the southwest corner, the sidewalks that are associated with the loading area, the trash and recycling area, a small portion of the parking lot. And after that, we get into our stormwater management and treatment system to the south, and then landscaping and revegetation. You will notice a very large green area along our easterly property line. At this time, that is being reserved for future development. We are not maximizing development on this parcel. And we did try to leave a space and plan ahead so that can be built out if and when this is a successful project. So we do want to be upfront that this area here up towards the front may be a building in the future. There may be additional parking depending on what that building is. But whatever happens, if there are any regulated activities that impact stormwater, we will be back in front of this commission. So, but we do want to explain that we are planning ahead. Let's see. I'll do now, I'll go to the grading and drainage plan. So still have that magenta line is the 100-foot upland review area. So in general, all of our site utilities for the building, our sewer in green, our power in red, our water in blue, and our gas in yellow, they're all outside of the upland review area. Really, the only utility that encroaches into that upland review area is related to drainage. So what we have is an internal network of drainage that collects our parking lot, and it discharges to a stormwater or sediment forebay at the south end of our parking lot. And that sediment forebay feeds into a filter bed that provides the treatment for our water quality volume and our water quality flow. So all water from the parking lots and the roof enter into this sediment forebay and filter bed. So all impervious surfaces are treated. In addition to that, we do have a mechanism around the west side of our property. So you see a swale here. So it's a gently graded swale that will collect any runoff from the sidewalk areas that may be salted or anything that comes off the building, and that directs it again to the filter bed. So we don't need a sediment forebay for that, but we did want to put it into the filter bed area so that we get treatment on that and some level of attenuation, even though we don't really need it. That filter bed has a 3-inch freeboard, so there will be a slight stack up of water and before it enters into our outlet structure, which is simply a catch basin. And that catch basin discharges into the existing stormwater system that's on our site. So this catch basin here, this catch basin in the middle, and this catch basin was actually also a sediment structure, were all put in the early 1990s as part of that approved development. And so this discharge and flared end into the pond all exist. So what we're doing is providing a new outlet control structure and treatment structure and connecting into that. I did inspect the outlet that exists at the flared end. It's in good shape. The riprap's still there. I didn't see any notable erosion or sedimentation. And from my inspection, the general contours or topography match what was originally installed in the early 1990s. So in general, I think the site is performing, and it will continue to perform with this development, which is much less than what was originally approved and planned for.
Mr. Hadfield.
Yes, sir.
Some questions. Tell me, describe to the commission the sediment forebay, what it is, and this filter bed in general terms, what that is, what type of treatment, how that water will be treated before it's discharged. Can you just describe to the commission? And we're not engineers, but what is that doing? What is it? How is it constructed? That sort of thing.
So the sediment forebay is simply a depression that's excavated into existing grade. It's anywhere from 18 inches to 24 inches deep, depending on where you are. We will be discharging likely about 12 inches above the bottom. Water will attenuate in there or discharge into that sediment forebay. It will slow down and sediments will fall out. We are proposing a filter berm, so water will filter through a crushed stone or wash crushed stone berm. And as it washes through, there will be no velocity, so it'll fill up the filter bed in a laminar fashion, so very slowly. And that water will basically collect in the filter bed. The filter bed itself is constructed of 12 inches minimum of an engineered mixed material. So the material will consist of 50% topsoil, 30% sand, and 20% mulch. And what that product gives you is filtration capabilities as well as treatment capabilities. So we're trying to promote water to go back into the ground. I will admit that the existing soils in this area are not very good. As I said before, this entire rear of the site was filled for the purposes of development. The soil that I witnessed is not of the highest drainage capability I've ever seen. But what we're trying to do is promote as much infiltration as we can before we get runoff. So we are improving a condition that was given to us. Does that answer your question?
Yes. My next question is, how much can this handle when we have what level storm, 5-year storm, 20-year storm, 100-year storm? What happens when it really pours? We get several days of heavy rain.
Yep.
What are the limitations? Can it handle it when we get some overflow if it's inundated on a very, very heavy rain, like a hurricane or whatever? Nor'easter, what happens every so often? What are the safeguards for that?
It's a good question. So it's kind of an iterative process. So in a very large storm, our collection system points can get overwhelmed quickly. So those are our first source. So if they do get overwhelmed, even if there's clogging, flow will continue to go down the parking lot. And if it does continue to be overwhelmed, it will still get into our sediment forebay, as this is the graded low point within our parking lot. So regardless of the performance of our catch basin system, water will always flow in a southerly direction and be caught by our sediment forebay and filter bed first. Assuming we're performing well, it's just a very big storm. The sediment forebay and filter bed are mainly designed for that first inch of rainfall. It's slightly oversized, so it's a little over an inch, but the intent of the sediment forebay and filter bed really is treatment. We don't need attenuation on this property. It was installed in the early 1990s as part of petition 9212. So that, and going back to this approved plan, this area here is the enlarged stormwater retention pond that was constructed as part of that approved plan. The purpose of this enlargement was to accept the development of our sites, 72, 77 and 93, the SA Frank site and the car wash development. So that volume exists already. And the volume that was provided was for a very high intense development. So likely 90% impervious. We're nowhere near that. So we don't need attenuation, but we do need treatment. If and when the stormwater exceeds the capacity of our filter bed and sediment forebay, there's 3 outlets that it can go to before there's an overflow condition. So the first, we're providing a stone stabilized overflow area from the filter bed. So here's our outlet structure. And here is a stabilized riprap overflow structure that gets us to this existing catch basin. So if and when our filter bed exceeds capacity and the catch basin outlet structure exceeds capacity, there's still an overflow to this catch basin here. And there's a catch basin here that also exists that could take overflow. From there, water will overflow. If it doesn't get into these 2 structures, it will basically follow the path it takes now. So any water that doesn't get into this catch basin flows along the top of this pipe and directly into the stormwater retention area.
Commissioner Wagner, can I ask you a question? Now, is this filter bed here is an open area or is it enclosed?
It's an open area. So in short, or in summary, it's a very shallow rain garden with engineered soil to promote infiltration.
Now, would it be okay, like if the soil is not too good for absorption, would like cattails be a good natural filter also to help it?
So what we're proposing to plant in there is basically a conservation seed mix intended for moist sites or detention basin sites. So that seed mix has mostly or all native shrubs and grasses in it. A lot of the grasses promote a very deep root growth to promote infiltration. So I've used it successfully in a lot of sites, and I prefer to use that style of seed mix, which has a lot of diversity. I try to stay away from a single or double plant type, so that if you get failure of one plant type, you're kind of left with an unvegetated area. So the seed mix, kind of whatever is most successful of the 13 species in it, it will propagate and it will still be native.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hanfield, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Relative to the sediment forebay, what type of maintenance would be required? A yearly, once 5 years? I mean, if you're collecting sediment, what type of maintenance on the system would be required?
So we have a number of iterations for operations and maintenance. It's actually shown on the plan. On the left center of that plan. And yeah, we require the sediment floor may be respected in the spring, basically after your winter maintenance time when there's sediment put down on the parking areas. And then sediment has to be removed when it reaches a height of 12 inches, and that generally is the bottom or the flow line out of our system. So once sediment is witnessed at the flared end, it has to be removed and disposed of properly. So we did include that on the plan set.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on drainage before we? All right. This is our landscaping and lighting plan. What we're showing here are a number of things. So again, we already discussed this, but we are adding trees. And just to cover one thing about this site, it is extremely dense and mainly invasive growth. So we did have to go in there and brush hog lanes just to survey it. It was so tight. A lot of autumn olive, a lot of Japanese barberry, all kinds of things that don't feel really good on anything. So we did clear some lanes, but in general, there's no mature quality vegetation on this whole property. It's all regrowth from the early 1990s, and it hasn't really been maintained. So all that vegetation will be removed, and we're going to have a revegetation process. So along the street, we have some street and shade trees similar to red maples to provide some seasonal color. As you work your way down the property, there'll be foundation plantings. None of this is within the regulated area. As we get to the rear, we're adding some trees as well. We're not providing any significant landscaping where there may be development in the future, but we are going to plant grass that will be maintained. And as we get to the southern side of the site, we're proposing to add a staggered row of conifers or screening trees, really to provide a visual buffer as well as a physical buffer or barrier to keep people, to basically prevent access to the south. The reason I say that is that this is a conservation easement held by the town that was granted as part of the original development. And so we're proposing, where there's not an easement, to plant one of 3 species of evergreens. And I'd have to go to the chart to understand what those are, but they're right here. So we have limber pines, spruces, and firs. So again, the purpose of that is to have multiple species that can survive, and rather than have one species, and if you get a bug or something like that, they all die. So again, we're proposing to provide that buffer. This is a conservation area here. I believe that's the line there. So we're providing that visual and physical barrier, and we continue that between the filter bed and the existing drainage easement that exists. So again, that same physical barrier as well as a visual barrier. So the only reason really to go back here is to maintain, and we did leave enough space to do that following our stormwater management system.
Mr. Hanfield,
Yes, sir.
I do have to ask you about that garbage retaining area there.
Yep.
It is in the upland review area. It's pretty close. Can you tell me, is there a raised curbing there just to protect, there's leakage and whatnot from food and all that, there's gups and all that other stuff. How is that? Is there special care taken? I don't see a better place to put it on the plan. Obviously, you want to put it somewhere out of the way, but is there any precaution taken that stays contained and not?
Yes. Good question. So there's a number of safeguards in place. One, it is a concrete pad that's surrounded by a 6-foot-high solid vinyl fence. So anything within there that doesn't make it directly into the trash will be fully enclosed, so it won't blow around by wind. The entire pad is graded towards our parking lot, so any runoff flows onto our parking lot and is collected by our catch basin system. So this entire pad flows in an easterly direction and will be collected by this catch basin here. That catch basin flows into the sediment forebay. So any floatables, debris, sediments, or other materials that are in this trash collection area that shouldn't be will be collected by this catch basin and will end up in the sediment forebay before entering our filter bed. So anything in there will end up in here. There's also a secondary measure. I briefly went through it, and I'll just click back a page, is this swale. So anything that happens to not flow in this direction, it still can't flow directly to the wetlands. I put this swale to cut off any potential for flow to directly go from our developed site into the conservation area or the wetlands. So even, you know, a drop of rain that falls here, anywhere on the grass, anywhere that's maintained, it all flows into our filter bed first and can be collected by our treatment system.
Okay. I do have just one final question.
Yep.
Relative to the swimming area itself, that's all self-contained. There's nothing to do. That is something discharged that goes to MDC. There's nothing, you know, in that area, you know, I haven't, you know, that plumbing is totally separate and goes towards MDC.
Yeah, so it's a closed system. There's no direct discharge of the pool water to the outside. And I could get the details of the mechanicals, but I do know we're providing a water hookup for the pool. And there is a substantial filtration system here that I believe is mostly related to HVAC in terms of turning over the air inside the building. But the water itself, if it does have to be drained, will be connected to the sewer.
Thank you, Mr. Hanfield. I welcome comments and questions for the rest of the commission.
John Bashan here, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead.
For the representative, what was the, you may have said it, but I heard you say that it was previously approved. What was the previous use going to be? Or the previous approval?
So the previous approval was not defined as far as I could see. And I'm just going to go, this is the approved plan. So in general, there was no specific development of this property itself. It was simply
Part of the subdivision? Part of the
Yes.
sub.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a development pad, part of the subdivision. They had to do improvements as part of that. I do have a plan. I don't know if it was ever approved or even made it to the commission for an ice rink. That ice rink went all the way out over here and into the conservation easement. It was highly impervious. Again, I don't know if that ever made it to a commission, but that's the only sign of development I ever saw.
I don't believe it ever came before the commission.
Okay.
And also, so you said these are two separate lots, is that correct?
Correct. There's two separate lots that we will be combining into one.
And the conservation easement is off of the subject property, is that correct?
That is correct. The conservation easement is here.
That was all part of that subdivision at the time. Originally, it was one property, or?
Actually, this property went all the way out here originally. And at some point, and I can zoom in here so you can see it. Here's your conservation easement. So this property used to kind of have a little dog leg on it and go all the way out here. At some point, I don't have the title handy, but this area was part of a conservation easement and the town controlled it. So this line here is the separation between our property and the conservation easement.
So is it town property now, or is it private property? The conservation easement?
It looks like it's owned by Newington Berlin Retail LLC.
Okay.
And it's a conservation easement in favor of the town.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Any other commissioners at this time? I do not see anyone's hand up. John Casasanta, please go ahead. Commissioner Casasanta.
No, I was just gonna say, I just had the one question that you covered, Mr. Chairman, about the refuse and it being so close to the wetland, the western wetland. But the applicant's explanation of how the runoff works and the mitigation that's being taken to prevent any refuse from ending up in that wetland satisfied me. So it was a very good presentation, and I have no further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Casasanta. Let's go to Commissioner Ancona. Do you have any questions at this time?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Mr. Conway?
No questions. Thank you.
Vice Chairman Wagner, I assume are you fine at this time to proceed? Commissioner Wagner? Okay. Hey there.
I have no further questions. Sorry, I had to take a
Thank
break.
you,
for a
sir.
second.
All right, all
I
right.
was listening.
Okay. So I guess this concludes the presentation. I think the next order of business for the commission is to decide if a public hearing is necessary. On this, Mr. Hinckley, I think that's next order of business.
Yes, it is.
So I'm not in favor of public hearing. This is a commercial area. I am comfortable with the details here. Commissioner Wagner, what say you?
And I'm not in favor of a public hearing. I think it's a commercial area. It's been planned since the 90s, so I'm good with it.
Commissioner Bashan,
I agree with the two of you.
Commissioner Ancona,
I agree.
Commissioner Casasanta.
I also agree.
Thank you. Commissioner Conway?
As do I. I agree.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Secretary, may I have a motion on application number 022-02 for option 2?
Yes, for application numbers 2022-02, this activity will have no significant impact to the regulated area, and the application will not require a public hearing.
So moved. May I have your second?
I'll second it, John.
Commissioner Wagner.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Wagner. Ms. Gibbons, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ancona,
Yes.
Commissioner Bashan,
Yes,
Commissioner Casasanta,
Yes,
Commissioner Conway,
Yes.
Chairman Saydel,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner.
Yes.
Six yeses.
Okay, unanimously. Thank you. So this concludes, this will go on old business, Mr. Hanfield, for next month, and we'll act on your application.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for this evening. Bye-bye. Okay, moving on to old business application 2022-01. Restoration of the upland review area at 249 Day Street. Applicant and owner 249 Day Street LLC. Contact Peter Mirabelli. Mr. Hinckley, is the applicant available?
We are here this evening. Bob Ludkin representing Mr. Mirabelli, and he's here on my right.
So
Excuse
yes,
me?
the applicant is here. Yes, sorry.
Okay, all right. Is there any words that I'll default to the applicant? Is there anything? I noticed there's some revised plans. Are there any changes to the plans from last month's meeting? Do you like to give a little synopsis or any other comment or update on your project?
I can just tell you, Chairman, all the updates were just minor in nature. They just revised the comments that we had from my comments to the applicant about removal of pavement and planting seed mixes and stuff like that. If you'd like to see the plans, I can bring them up. But they were minor in nature, I believe.
Okay. Let's bring that up real quick, just if Ken, Mr. Hink, we have a few minutes. Let's just.
All
do
right,
that
just give me a
quickly.
minute to get those plans.
Okay.
So here's the plan. He added some comments here about the wetland friendly seed mix and conservation mix. Down here, we had a notation because there was an old driveway there. I had them remove that, and they're gonna remove the pavement that was there and reseed that. And there were some other planning and zoning comments about curbing and whatnot that they had for that approval, since this was all the same set.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time. I will turn it over to the rest of the commission. You have any other last thoughts, concerns?
No.
Okay, Commissioner, anyone else, please raise your hand at this time. I do not see anyone's hand at the moment, so Mr. Hinckley, is the application complete?
Yes, it is, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, may I have a motion to approve permit application 2022-01, 249 Day Street?
This is for application 2022-01, 249 Day Street for restoration of the upland review area. Owner applicant 249 Day Street LLC, contact Peter Mirabelli. I move to approve the application with the 10 standard conditions in the following 2 special conditions. A, all proposed buffer plantings shall be installed by September 15th, 2022. The applicant shall notify the wetland agent to verify the installation. B, subsequent to the tree plantings, an inspection of the planted areas should be conducted by an arborist to document the placement and vigor of the tree plantings. Additional yearly inspections of the planting areas should be conducted during the growing season for, I need to see.
Hold on, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. For at least 3 subsequent years to ascertain survival rates. Reports documenting the findings of all the inspections, including the presence of any invasive species, shall be provided to the local inland wetlands agent no later than December 31st of each year. If mortality rates of the plantings exceed 15%, the plantings shall be replaced.
So moved. At this time, does the applicant understand these conditions, A and B? And
Answer is
concur?
yes.
Okay, thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second it, John Bashand.
Second by Commissioner Bashant. Final discussion. Ms. Gibbons, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ancona,
Yes.
Commissioner Bashand,
Yes.
Commissioner Casasanta,
Yes.
Commissioner Conway,
Yes.
Chairman Saydell,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner.
Yes.
6 yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Good luck. the applicants.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to item 7, public participation on non-agenda items. Each speaker limited to 2 minutes. Mr. Hinckley, is there anyone on the line waiting?
No one has their hand raised at the moment, Chairman.
Okay. We shall proceed. Item 8, communications and reports. Item A, agent communications. Mr. Hinckley, do you have anything to report this month?
Yes, I do. I was notified by the Parks and Rec Department that they've contracted with Connecticut Pond Services to do their annual spraying of Mill Pond and Churchill Pond. They've sent me all their approvals. The agent has sent me all their approvals for DEP, et cetera. So that will be taking place at some point in the spring or summer.
What exactly are we spraying for? I'm sorry.
It's herbicides, I believe.
That was
Herbicide
Commissioner
or
Bashan.
insect, yeah, Bashan, I'm sorry. Herbicide or insecticide?
I believe it's herbicide. Let me look. I have to look through all the information in here. It's not insecticide, so I'm sorry. No, it is pesticide. Sorry.
Yeah.
Commissioner Conway, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And I don't know if this is, I know we're under agent communications at this point, and this might be the wrong time to bring it up. I wasn't sure what time was the right time, but I do have some concerns. Wanted to address the public participation at the beginning of the meeting, and you know, I just have some concerns about it. Do I need to make a motion to investigate the December meeting just so we can have discussion about it? Or I don't know if there are some grounds for legal action that they were talking about, or if that's even what they were discussing, that they would take it. I just, like I said, I'm concerned that
Understood. I do know that the appeal period passed without anyone filing an appeal, which is the statutory right of everyone pursuant to the statute. And I know that passed, and I think Renata has something she'd like to say as well.
So, Mr. Chair, through you, I don't know if you need to make a motion to enter discussion commenting on public comments on this. The statutes are fairly clear with regards to rescinding decisions. You may, if you wish, ask for attorney's opinion on that, but well-established rules are that the proper way to appeal the decision is to appeal the decision through the court process. I have never heard of a commission rescinding their decision. Sending anything to council for investigation is a right of a public and the council to do. And, you know, I think that really is all that is to it. You as a commission may discuss your rules and procedures. That's another option that you can have, or you can seek additional training, like type of training that we had through the Land Use Academy, or more of that. We can certainly look into providing that sort of thing. So that's, I believe, all that I would offer. But whether or not you make certain motions or decide to do something on the floor, that's up to you. All I can tell you is that legal ramifications should be definitely not made tonight. And if anything, you know, you may seek like legal advice.
Well, if I may, you mentioned the workshop that was 2 weeks or so ago. And I guess where I was in error, and I think this is for the benefit of the rest of the commissioners, is that when the public hearing is closed, not only to the public, it's also closed to the commissioners as well. Okay, so one of the takeaways I got from the training was that, we had the public hearing, but that also means that we cannot ask we have to deliberate among ourselves, like in a trial, in a jury, right? We cannot ask, even as a commissioners, we can't ask any more information. We're locked out at that point. So I will say in hindsight, I had concerns, obviously a lot of public opposition to the project, but I had some questions to ask. And based on the regulations that was put forth, there was no reason, in my opinion, that they would be denied an application based on our regulations. Why would they be denied an application? I did work the applicant over to see had any lingering doubts. But in the future, I'm not going to close the public hearing. That's my bad as far as closing the public hearing, not realizing that the commission cannot ask any questions after that. We had talked about this other agency, this act or something from the state where we get their opinion. There was talk of that. Apparently that's not allowed. The public hearing have to be open for us to seek these types of guidance from the other state agencies, perhaps, or if you have have to have a chance to read the minutes. We're going against 30-year professionals here, right? We're just members of the public trying to figure this out. Okay, so I guess that was one of the key takeaways that I got from the workshop, and I want to share that with the rest of the commission. That's not gonna happen again, but I have to think about this. Obviously, I do want to have legal counsel, and obviously I have to give this some thought. I'm not going to answer your question, Commissioner Conway, tonight, but that's my side of things. I just had some lingering questions that I wanted to have answered. Renato, you wanted to speak. I believe you're on mute.
Yep.
Happens to me all the time.
I know. This is like the most spoken sentence of the COVID era is you're muted. Not to belabor this point too much, but you, like what was discussed in the training, you should ask all the questions while the hearing is open. But you also, as a commission, should be mindful of not keeping public hearings open if you don't have any questions. And that was discussed as well. So, it's one thing to have questions or think that you will have questions and then keep hearings open because you suspect that you will have some questions coming up. And that's absolutely legitimate reason. And then
there was one comment that we'll add. There was most of the comments were not relevant to the wetland, right? When we go to these, we have to know what on the plan affects the wetland. You can't just say, I don't like this, right? You have to say what in the plan affects that would degrade the quality of the wetland or conservation easement, what have you. That is what those hearings are for. Not say, I don't like this or that. We get a lot of that, unfortunately, but we need finding a fact that something in the plan will degrade the quality of the wetland. And that's the bottom line here. And sometimes you may hear something from the public. There was maybe one or two comments. There was one about the vernal pool, about the that drainage area. This Miss Tracy Bedraco brought up, and maybe I wanted to investigate that a little further, right? But I'll be more careful in the future about that. I'll be sure of that. But we're going up against professionals here. We don't I don't know everything. I don't know if commissioners know everything, but that's my rebuttal to your remark, Renata. I want to go to Commissioner Casasanta and then Commissioner Wagner.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. All I really have to say is, now being the new secretary of the commission and having been on boards before, I should have realized at the time, once a public hearing is closed, it's closed. We cannot take any more testimony from the applicant or public at that point in time. And all I have to say, more in a procedural vein, is this was an isolated incident and I don't foresee it happening again. That's all I have to add right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Casasanta. Commissioner Wagner.
I agree with Commissioner Casasanta and you, Chairman Siddell, that it was unfortunate that happened. We all learned from it, but also most of the complaints were coming in were because it's a highly emotional development, and I understand where they're coming from. It's right across the street from them, but there was really no, like, there's nothing gonna affect the wetlands. So there's a lot of emotion about where they're building it. So that's why I knew from the beginning I was gonna vote the way I was gonna vote. Nothing changed my mind. I had my vote in because I didn't think there's gonna be any ill effects to the wetlands. And maybe we should have a little class on the Robert Rules of Order, like a small one, to remind us some of this stuff, because some of us are new to it. If we don't have a yearly training on something, you forget things. We don't use it all the time.
Thank you, Commissioner Wagner. Commissioner Casasanta, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one more thought. I don't know what your thought is or the thought of the commission as a whole. Would it be worth having it reviewed by the town attorney?
Yes.
Okay, that was just my suggestion.
Yes, I was going to get to that. And then when Renata mentioned that, I will, can we go to Commissioner Ancona? Our resident, can you comment on this, Commissioner Ancona?
I just wanted to say that I sure hope that the comments made by the people building it wouldn't sway our view of it anyways. I noticed that was mentioned. And yeah, I think reviewing the rules, and it's a good learning experience for us. Would be good to review the rules more.
Okay. Anyone else at this time? There's a member of the public. I don't think we can invite him in, at this time. We've passed public participation.
You did pass that by, yes.
So I recommend sending the commissioner an email or any parting thoughts, but I think that's basically, I think the comments cover it by the commissioners tonight, myself and the commissioners, I think. And I do, Renata, we want to have a final, is that okay with you? Just a consultation. If I need to get involved, let me know.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, if you're satisfied this and get closure on this.
Are we ready to move on to the next item, or you guys have?
Okay, we go to, yes, item B, Town Council Liaisons and Communications. I see the two counselors online. Who wants to go first?
Gould, am I allowed to just ask a question? I'm not quite sure what the resolution was of the previous discussion. Is something going to be sent to the attorney, or is it for the decision, for the process? I mean, I'm not quite sure, because I know Councilor Rada and I were, there was a request for some action or bringing it to the town council, which would have been probably a legal review. But if you're going to be doing the legal review, I don't know what are you reviewing the decision or the process or what?
So my understanding of what my charge was going to be was to send an email to town attorney, essentially asking whether or not the commission had any authority to consider rescinding their decision or delaying signing off of their wetlands permit based on reviewing of how this decision was made. So that was one aspect of town attorney's review. And then the second, what my at least understanding was, a request from the town attorney was that he presents to the commission one night certain rules about certain Robert rules of order in relationship of how to run a meeting, including discussing charge difference between consideration under your Conservation Commission hat versus considerations you are allowed to do under your Inland Wetlands Commission's hat, you know, purely advisory versus regulatory, which one kicks in at which stage of the proceedings, and you know, what triggers what kind of element in your decision-making and public hearing process. Many complaints that were heard or comments that were made were not perhaps related to inland wetlands aspects of the application, which is what Chairman has mentioned. So that is what I understood I would contact the town attorney about. So if I'm mistaken on that, please correct me.
Okay, well, so basically you're just asked, or the charge is just to ask whether this commission has authority to rescind or delay their decision and for them to review it themselves, but the attorney's not going to be asked for an opinion on what transpired or the decision?
No, I think everybody has acknowledged that post public hearings, once public hearing closes, there should have not been conversation. I think pretty much everybody in the room has recognized that. So procedurally, there were certain regretful steps that occurred that night. I think the chairman has acknowledged so, and so did some other members due to certain circumstances that occurred that night as well. The public hearing may have been closed too soon, as the commission chairman has stated. There may be certain questions that remained outstanding that were questions that they still felt were appropriate to ask. So they proceeded by asking. So I don't think there is really anybody is asking whether or not that process was correct. I think the question by the public is whether or not the commission can decide not to sign the wetlands permit because of that decision. And that is the question on the table. The members of the public, 2 or 3 that spoke, would, the way I understood their comments, like that the commission rescinds their decision. It is my understanding of the state statutes that the commission cannot do that. I can ask town attorney if I am correct, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, that really cannot happen. And I think the actual ask of the commission is to not sign the wetlands permit so that the project cannot proceed.
So there's nothing in the process now. I mean, it's not like the signing is going to happen tomorrow or whatever. I mean, there's nothing that's going to have to be put on hold until the attorney's opinion is received, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, so the public then, if they're, I guess I'm just, or maybe the attorney, maybe this has to be included in the attorney's opinion. If the public, if this commission, I guess I see a couple of scenarios. If this commission, first of all, doesn't have the authority to rescind or review the decision, what are the opinion from the attorney? Would it include what the public's, if they wanted to take it further, what the next step would be? And or if the opinion is that this commission has the ability to rescind or delay signing, does that mean they can reopen the discussion, or does that mean the entire decision is reversed?
I believe that the public, the people who have testified tonight, there were 3 particular testimony tonight that had asked for exactly that, that the commission rescinds their opinion, rescinds their decision, and delay or denies signing off the wetlands permit. I do not believe that that can happen. I do not believe that that's allowed under statutes. I do not believe that either Wetlands Commission or the Planning Commission or the Zoning Commission have the authority to do things of that nature. The proper way, the way I always understood land use law, is that once the land use decision is made by the commission, any party that would like to appeal that has certain amount of time to appeal that to the court, not to that commission nor the town council. So, you know, if the public is not satisfied with my interpretation of that, if the commission is not satisfied with my interpretation of this legalities, and I'm not a lawyer, so I will take that, you know, we can ask the town attorney to confirm or verify my interpretation of this. So that is what I can offer in response to this. You can ask council this same question, but it will essentially result in them turning to town attorney.
To the town attorney, right?
Ask the same questions, right?
Okay, so it's better to, at this point, I mean, at least, I mean, the council liaisons, Councilor Rada and myself, we would have done it. I mean, if it would have been delayed if we brought it to a council meeting. I mean, you're going to act on this or give it to the attorney like tomorrow or whatever.
Yes,
and
maybe
the
not,
actions,
maybe not
the actions that the
tomorrow, but
council would have
definitely.
taken, you know, for Kim and I are basically the same that you're going to be taking tomorrow or whatever.
I will do that this week. I don't believe I'm gonna be able to do it tomorrow, but I will definitely do that before the end of this week. And if you wish, I can copy you and Councilor Rada on this as well, so you can have that for your communication with council for next week.
Okay. I think Councilor Rada, you probably.
Go ahead, Councilor Rada.
Yeah, Councilor Patranovic, do you have anything further that you wanted to say first?
Well, not on this subject. There was something else I had.
Okay, I will talk on this because I had the same concerns in mind, especially where I'm reading through my notes that Mr. Zellick said that this was going to be taken to the council. So at some point, whether it's through public participation or emails to council members, I'm sure we will hear more about this. My questions were very similar to Councilor Budraco's. And I appreciate, Renata, you taking that to the town attorney, and yes, please get back to the two of us. That way we have something that we can present at the next council meeting if necessary. My only other question, and I'm not sure if it was answered yet, is with this, and I'm going to use Mr. Zellick's phrase, this is not my own, what he calls the mishandling of the meeting, of the public hearing and the closure of the public hearing and allowing for the applicant to speak. If that somehow impacts the decision, and I'm not saying swaying the decision of any of the commissioners, but because that occurred and it was outside or in opposition to the regulations, the state regs, would that automatically negate whatever that vote was. I have no idea. I'm not an attorney either. I'm just asking. And maybe that's something that that you could also ask the town attorney.
I can ask the town attorney. Again, the statutes are clear. The way to appeal even that kind of thing is through a proper appeal, not through a reversal of the decision.
That's correct. And there has been about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, there was an appeal of a wetlands decision, and that person went through the court system.
Commissioner, is that all, Councilor Rada?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. Commissioner Wagner's waiting, which,
Commissioner Wagner here. So it should be noted also that the public ran out of time to appeal this project. There's no adverse conditions. We made a vote. The public could have appealed it in the time that was given to them, which they didn't. So that should also have a big effect on how this is handled also. Because if they had an issue with how we voted, yes, the procedure was a little off when we opened up and discussed it again. But I think commissioners said they didn't sway their vote. And if they thought there was an issue, they should have appealed it in the proper time, which they didn't.
thank you, Commissioner Wagner. Commissioner Ancona.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Wagner. And the public is saying that we were a 4-3 vote before we allowed the builder to talk to us. And I think if we concede that as a reality, that's a very bad thing. And we have no business even being here. So I think it's very implausible that that's even a reality.
Okay. Anyone else? Renata, I want to thank you for taking that action item.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Bashan.
Yeah, I had my hand up. So I just want to be clear here. I'm not asking for, it's an interesting topic, but, I'm not asking to know what my options are on reversing this decision. So I just want to, I don't know if we need a poll, or is someone asking that they want to know if they can reverse their decision? Because I'm not.
I really don't think
So I'm not even sure why we would ask for the legal decision, or even legal opinion, not a decision.
Well, I want to address the matter, Commissioner Bashant, once and for all, get closure, for the sake of for the public.
For knowing for the future, you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Let's get the record straight. And we were being asked to go on the record to respond, and we will in kind.
Okay, I would just bring up one case. If you remember Toll Brothers, there was a reversal of a decision, but it was immediately after the vote was taken, and members of the commission stated that they were unclear on what they were voting on. So that was different than this, but there was some precedence there, but different situation though. That's it.
Casasanta, I think you had your hand up, or
Well, yeah, no, I think the main issue here is that we took testimony after the public hearing was closed in direct violation of the commission's rules. We shouldn't have done that. And members of the public who were opposed to this development have cried foul over that. All I'm saying is have the town attorney take a look at it, and let's make sure we get this right. I think it's the prudent thing to do. We shouldn't rush and pass judgment ourselves. Let the legal expert take a look at this and determine what's the best course of action. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Casasanta. Councilor Bedrejko, you have something else on?
Yeah, well, no, I guess I agree with Commissioner Casasanta. I think because of the nature of this entire application, the fact that there were irregularities, and which, the commission here admits to, but I do believe that both sides, the public and the developer, as well as this commission, deserves, it'll probably never be put to rest, quite frankly, but sending it on to legal will put some type of closure on it and some kind of statement. And I think everybody deserves that. So I appreciate Renato going forward with that. And then we'll see what happens when the statement comes back. But I have something else if we're done with this.
I think we can proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, it's just, it's not really from the council, but since you were talking about a building at Payne Road today, in today's current, there's another application that's coming about for Payne Road for 152 apartments. Is that going to come before this commission as well? It seemed to imply that it's only going to go to TPZ.
It's only TPZ. There's no wetlands on that site.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready to proceed.
Okay.
Item C,
Yep.
pond life research.
Alan is not here to discuss pond
Yeah.
life research, so.
I guess if there's any further comments, please respond to the commission. I know there's somebody out there, so.
Just regarding
that-
pond life, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I believe Alan is not here. Do you have a comment? Would you like to
Yeah,
make?
I took,
Go
I
ahead.
took a walk around Mill Pond the other day and I saw they were doing some of the trimming and I didn't see anything, out of, that I was opposed to. So I just wanted to mention that I did see they're doing some of the maintenance there.
Okay, thank you for the observations. All right. Shall move to item 9, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Secretary Casasanta. May I have a second?
Second, John Bashand.
Second by John Bashant. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Enjoy your evening. Stay warm.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
all.
Everybody.
Good night.